we know that OpenAI did a lot of RLHF, right? Which is reinforcement learning. Whether it's actually reinforcement learning or not, we can talk about it at a different point. But it's reinforcement learning-esque stuff with human feedback. And so if people use ChatGPT, sometimes it'll ask for a thumb, like you can give an answer a thumb up or a thumb down. Essentially, that's you labeling whether it's good or not, and then they'll do some sort of reinforcement learning around whether those things work. Side note, everyone may have seen like ChatGPT over uses the word delve. We saw that recently. And one of the more attractive theories why that's the case is from the reinforcement learning via human feedback. I'll try to find an article, but you can probably Google it. Which the idea was that OpenAI contracts a lot of developing nations or a number of developing nations, and the word delve may be overrepresented in their use of English, so that when they saw it, they'd give it a thumb up. And so it wasn't necessarily, well, it wasn't overused in the training data, but it was the RLHF side that meant it's overrepresented by ChatGPT. But these types of things like RLHF, we see more, maybe reinforcement learning via AI as well, and like human computer interactions, HCI stuff. How do these types of things fit into your LLM lifecycle?
Yeah, a good question. So I would say, I kind of like implicitly only mention it, but this type of RLHF would be like an extension or one step in the instruction fine-tuning case.
Right.
So in RLHF, usually it's like a two-step procedure where you do supervised instruction fine-tuning. So that is basically more like a next token prediction thing. The loss is it's slightly different from the pre-training. But what you do is basically you have an instruction, the text, the one that you want the LLM to generate. So for example, if you want to fine tune or in instruction fine tuning, one task would be summarizing text. So you give it the instruction, summarize this text plus the input text. And then the desired response would be the summarized text that some, let's say, human has written. And then you train the LLM basically given the input and the instruction, generate exactly that text basically. So that's the loss function basically. And after that, so you do that, let's say on 50,000 examples. After that, you have ideally a similar data set or the same data set with two different summaries now. Instead of just having one summary, you have two summaries that are just slight variations of each other. And like you said, one is better than the other. And then you have the thumbs up and thumbs down, basically. And then you further refine the instruction fine-tuning by saying basically which of the two responses is better, given two responses. And actually with the Delph, that is an interesting hypothesis that it was not the training data necessarily, but like the thumbs up and thumbs down responses, like in terms of one, let's say, summary or one explanation had a Delph in it and one didn't. So it would be interesting to test that, to see, like a non-instruction fine-tuned LLM, how often does it use the word Delph when it generates text? And then if it generates, if it's fine-tuned after that, comparing how proportionally, how often does it generate the word Delph afterwards? It's interesting. For my book, the LLMs from scratch, I used the word, I think, one time. And I immediately, on the Manning forum, there was someone like, hey, you used the word Delph in your text. Did you use ChatGPT to write your book or something?
Incredible.
It's kind of funny. It can happen because it's actually a word. I was curious. Then I went back to my older books, the ones published before 2018. And I also used the word Delph. There was one book I used it, I think, 2 or 3 times. So in that case, it's like, is it a chicken egg problem, right? Do the books or in general texts contain Delph because you use ChatGPT, or did ChatGPT also write Delph because it learned from the books? Or it's like, which way is it basically? It's kind of interesting. But I think it's a legit word. It's just like you said, it's a bit overused when you use ChatGPT. So nowadays, yeah, it's like you're kind of oversensitive. If you see Delph in an email or something, it's like, oh, this guy just probably used ChatGPT.
I actually love the word delve. I wouldn't mind it being used more. I like that word. It's like, it's kind of like the sixth finger of the language world, though, right? So,
Yeah. So I do use it sparingly. Sometimes maybe I tend to forget. But yeah, when I write emails, I usually avoid this term now. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Absolutely.